I learned the art of persuasion in consulting, and consulting is a great battleground for practicing persuasion because over and over again, all you're doing is trying to get clients to take action based on information. In this video, I want to share 4 simple tricks for helping you think about being more persuasive. Those 4 things are: go deeper, make things stand out, don't use facts, and repeat. Use repetition. At its simplest level, when creating work and sharing ideas, especially in a business context, persuasive content is going to be content that's memorable. And most of what we're creating in the business world, we can think of as content. We often think of content as like YouTubers or writers online, but everything is content, right? It's meant to be consumed by someone else. And when you're doing that, it's not going to be memorable unless you actually make it interesting and make it map to the world the client or the audience you're communicating to live in. The first principle, go deeper. In my experience in consulting, what I found is that most people in the business world don't go that deep. They have surface level information or surface level data, and they haven't really thought about it. They haven't gone below the surface, asking question upon question, trying to get to root causes and tying together information in new and different ways. This is hard, of course, and you can only get to unique insights by actually going super deep and asking novel questions. And then by using tools I often teach on this channel and in my courses, you can structure that information in compelling ways and getting to higher level insights using tools like the pyramid principle and MISI. One thing that's helped me get better at going deeper and being clearer in what I'm trying to communicate is by writing a lot. By writing, it forces you to test what you think with the reality. Sit down and try to write about an idea, and then you'll discover if you really know it or not. Then try to share it with somebody else. They can also understand what you're trying to say. Then you're getting somewhere. That's the start of what might be something that's memorable. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is create compelling insights. And often this just takes iteration, practice, feedback, and testing ideas with the people you're trying to actually communicate to. The second thing, make things stand out. So you can do many different things. In business presentations, we can use different colors, we can use different language, we can use different images. Right now, I have a blue background behind me now. Now you're going to remember this part a little differently. Make things stand out. Remember that phrase, make things stand out. I'm trying to make this persuasive and memorable. One of the ideas around this was something from Raymond Loewy. In the early 1920s, he was helping companies design new trains.
And Pennsylvania Railroad once had trains like this, and Raymond Loewy made them look like this.
And he had this idea called most advanced yet acceptable. It was his description of what people were actually comfortable with. And he found that you could push the limits on what was new and novel, but it still had to be somewhat familiar.
Good design is simple. When you look at it, you have the impression of great simplicity, the beauty of simplicity.
So often when you're trying to make things stand out, it can be different, but you still want to make it familiar. For example, a blue orange. This is a picture I love using because it's familiar, right? You see the orange and you're like, okay, I know that's an orange, but it's blue. It's weird. It's different. It makes you feel something, right? So if you want people to remember something, stand out. Number 3, don't use facts. That's right. Strategy consultants love facts, but you have to add context. You have to put those facts in context of time, perspective. What do they actually mean? If you tell me revenue went up 10%, it doesn't mean anything. But if you tell me revenue was flat for 25 years and then it went up 10%, that's really interesting. Often you want to move from concrete facts to adding abstract language to it to pair it to make it powerful. You could say something like, we planted a tree. You could add context and say, we plant a tree for each member of our family when they're born. To us, it represents growth through life. You can go deeper and add a layer of meaning to things. The tree will outlive us all. And with that, I'm sort of leaving some of the thinking up to you, which is a powerful technique in persuasion. Often people will use phrases like, think about a time when, fill in the blank. It's engaging you in the presentation. Finally, fourth, reinforce with repetition. So one of my favorite phrases in teaching consulting skills is think before you PowerPoint. Think before you PowerPoint. If you remember anything from this, it's think before you PowerPoint, right? I'm repeating it over and over and over again. You're already starting to remember it. But the point of this phrase is to get people to remember when they open up a PowerPoint slide. Don't just create the default slide. Think, process your information, apply the skills I teach in the courses. So I added this phrase to all my workshops such that it gives people a cue, makes my message memorable. And if they're able to remember that phrase every time they open up the software program PowerPoint and they start operating differently and applying new skills, then persuasion is successful. Persuasion, simpler than you've thought, right? Persuasion is really just the art of communicating clearly, doing it in ways that are memorable, and hopefully inspiring change in other people. I go into much more depth in persuasion in the last part of my course. If you are interested in that, you can learn more about Think Like a Strategy Consultant below.